Hi, welcome back to Guessagaingaming, playing, well, in, rather than playing, Age of Wonders Planetfall. So, during the time since I made the last video, which has been a good few days now, because I've been making a few other videos and doing a few other things, I considered making this video, as I said last time I did a video for this game, that I'd run it out and see what happened with this battle and see if I attacked what would happen. And then I had a eureka moment yesterday where I suddenly thought, no, I won't. I'm going to end this video series now because you know what's going to happen. It's irrelevant to see this battle or me trudging around over here to fight some more enemies, because you can see that they've got overwhelming numbers. You've already seen, if you've watched the rest of the videos or any other video, they've got these drop ships that come in and drop people, drop troops from somewhere. You can't see where they're coming from or how many they've got. It's impossible. There's no way we could do it. Our doomsday weapon doesn't work on them because they're the same faction. So it's pointless just to continue to see not much. It's pointless to watch. And it's pointless for me to do it. If I was playing this not on the channel, and I always think, if I was playing this not for the channel, would I continue? And I think, no, I wouldn't. I would easily have just given up with this because it's pointless. So I decided not to continue with anything in this game because it's got to the point where, even if I did win a battle against these, they've got a zillion more somewhere hidden in their fog of war. And even if by some amazing chance, because you can see the AI is very erratic, they let me win because they just sent 2 units in each time, there's all the other AI players and the NPC players I'm also at war with. So there's no way we could progress to win this. So I thought I would just conclude this series by some thoughts overall on the game, and these are them. So first I'll go into what I think are the good parts. And there are good parts, there's quite a lot of good parts in this game. Firstly, I think all the actual systems are great. The graphics are really good, the art style is good, the music's good, the controls are easy to understand and easy to work. And it's easy to get into it once you kind of get to working out how the game is, which takes a little bit because the opening menus are a bit confusing. But once, because there's too many different options of your empire, and which I explained in previous videos. But once you get into playing and you work out what that is, it's fun. It's easy to get into, and it's easy to play. It's a good game to drop into when you're you just want to kill an hour or half an hour and you just progress your busy work, as I call it, a little bit, build a bit more tech, move your armies around, get a new colony. So it's good for that. The variations of tech are great, if not overwhelming. There's loads of things, like with all these operation things, there's loads of things you can do, all these different operations. I think that's a really good idea. Things you can do in battle, things you can do outside battle, that works really well. The research trees is absolutely tons of stuff which you've seen, tons of different sorts of tech, almost too many. Like I said, sometimes it's overwhelming because you have to pair up which sort of tech you want, especially with the military techs. You have to pair up, do you want a shockwave thing, or do you want a discharge thing, or do you want a rift thing, or do you want a void thing? And you have to pair all these things up with which units you've got that are going to be best suited for them. And sometimes that's a bit too many because no one tech is going to be good for all your units, and it's a bit confusing. But I'm sure if you really were into this, or you really put your head into it, it would be more straightforward. So those are the good things, and they're quite a lot. So in general, as an overall game, there's nothing wrong with it. The problems, and this is the negatives with this game, are in play problems, and they're not glitches. I've never had a glitch with this game at all. There's no problems with the game. I've not had any crashes or anything, or glitches or anything at all. So everything about the actual gameplay, the look of it, everything is great. The systems, blah 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 blah. So the problems are in the actual gameplay, and unfortunately it's quite a lot that I found, and it's only in playing through this video that I've really kind of noticed more than because I've been talking about it, I suppose. So there's too much. So let's start with all of it. There's too much busy work. We're on 138 turns now, which is an awful lot of turns. And if you've watched any of the previous videos from before the last, say, 15 when we've been at war, there's just a lot of time when you're building tech, building research, building colonies, going around killing random marauders, which are pretty easy to kill once you get going. And apart from that, there's not much. So it's not got a lot going on. I know a lot of games would be similar, but in games, again, I'll always come back to these two because they're the most similar I can think of that I've played in, like Stellaris and the Total War game series, all of them. Especially the older ones, which I think are the better ones. The Total War, the original one, and Medieval, the first one. You have many other things going on. So, for example, let's refer to Rome, Total War, the first one. You've got you've got your kind of family, your royal family, your faction that you're in, and you've got a wife, you've got kids, you have to sort of manage them, you can adopt new people into your family. So there's lots going on with the actual main character and the other generals as well with their families. So, and I'll come back to that as well. Also, you've got rebels, which are like marauders, I suppose, but there's lots of those. Plus, you've got, which you haven't really got in this, you've got an awful lot of little rebel territories, not just marauders wandering about doing nothing like rebels in Total War, but you've got lots of rebel territories that you can take over that don't really fight against a main faction. You've also got other smaller nations that you can take over or annex, whatever. So you've got a lot more going on while you're doing your busy work. So, and Stellaris is similar. You've got a lot of other smaller nations, a lot of things to explore, a lot of things to do, as well as just building up your research and your tech and your armies. So that's number one. There's too much busy work where you're not really doing much, and even if you were to attack the NPC faction early, that's just one faction and one thing you'd be doing, and that would be the same next time you just attack. So there's not enough going on in game for 130 turns or 100 turns even. That's one thing. Number two, and I've said this many times, there's no spies or assassins or diplomats that you physically move around, and I think that's a real loss to the game, because for the way the game works and the fact you can't see, which is another connecting thing into the other territories because of fog of war, it would be an answer to that if you could have assassins or enemies, just like you would like I said, in Total War, where, you know, this army would be here and they'd have a really great general and you could use your spy to disrupt it. I know you've got these operations, but it's not the same because they just are something you launch from your base. You can't send a spy into there to spy on that. Or you could have your assassin come and attack that leader, and that would damage their possibilities of continuing, etc., etc. But you haven't got that. And with those diplomats and spies and assassins, you'd also have this ridiculous thing of fog of war, where you don't know what's going on there, and there's no way you can ever find out, because if you send the only thing you have is military units. If you send one there, they'd be attacked straight away, so you'll never be able to constantly see what's going on, and you won't know. So that's number one. Fog of war, again, which links to that, is, like I said, it's very hard to deal with. And that links into the next one, which is, and I've said this in the last few videos, it's very, very hard to attack either in making the first move or in pursuing them, because again, you don't know what they've got and it's impossible to know. And in Total War, you could have your diplomat or your spy or assassin, etc., go into the territories, and that would show you where their armies were and what was going on, and that would give you an idea of how to plan, and that's part of a strategic turn-based game, is the planning. But in this, you can't plan. So if you sent an army here, you'd have absolutely no way of knowing what's there. And it could be nothing, and it could be like 20 units, or 20 armies even, namely enemies. And you won't know. So you can't really tactically plan. And the same with, even like it's happened already in the last like 20 turns when I've been at war, the idea of pursuing enemies that run away, like if we did beat these in war and some of them don't die, they'll run away. And again, unlike in games like Still Lives in Total, War, you can't pursue them because you've got no idea what's there. And plus they can drop units in with this drop ship from a distance and you don't know what units they've got where or where they can drop them from. So it affects how you play, and it makes it almost impossible to do anything with much thought or planning or the natural way you would. So that's another thing that's very difficult. Also, which all these points add together, and any one of them on their own would be slightly annoying, but together they make it really annoying. And as you've seen again in the last 20 or 30 turns since I've been at war, the AI does ridiculous things. They're just as likely now to come all the way here as they've done many times before, and then just go back to land, and then just go back into their fog of war, or suddenly go all the way down here. And it's not about whether they've got us at their mercy or whether they just do, or they'll suddenly all bunch up there for no reason because they like a group hug. And again, that adds to all these things where it makes it impossible to do much, because you can't, even with what you can see, guarantee they're going to do anything normal. If you had one unit here, you can't guarantee that all these wouldn't attack or would attack. They might just go back there and have a group hug. So you can't even plan with that, because normally in a game where you've got overwhelming odds and they're coming, you could think, okay, they're coming there, let's all build up our force there, and if we've got other forces, let's attack around there. But we can't attack around there because we don't know what's there, we'll never know. And we can't build up here because we don't know they're just going to walk off and go and have a picnic. So again, that comes to that part of it. Also linking into that is the fact that I think it would be good, and again, all these things on their own wouldn't matter much, but they're all together. As again with games like Total War, like in Rome Total War, where you had, and I've mentioned this already earlier, you have your royal family, not obviously royal family, but your family of each general had a family actually, and especially your main general, your leader, had a family and sons, and they became generals, and all these people had their own destinies, and the sons would get traits, and you'd worry about your sons being generals. Where were they? Were they in a settlement that might be attacked? You'd have your wives and daughters you could marry to other people, either your own generals or to other factions. And all these things, number one, it was things that were going on during the busy work, so you had to concentrate on, with your leader getting a bit old, had he got any children, who was going to take over if he died, would he be a different general, all these kind of things. And what sort of attributes was he getting, what negative traits was he getting, what positive traits was he getting, what entourage was he picking up along the way. There was all those little things he used to get, which is like he got a jester or he got a musician, and it added to his humour or his defence or his whatever it might be. So that was help. And also, like I said in another video or other videos, it would give the leaders in this game, the generals, the leaders, the heroes, whatever they want to call them, they call them heroes, it would give them something more than just being a face on a board. Because yes, there's a person that let's do it in this, there's a person that's there's a person that's our general, our leader, our hero. There you go, let's go with that one. And all we can really do, we can look at them, and there they are. They look very nice. The art style's great. They can get lots of load ups and mods, which is all very nice. And I'd say that part's very, very good. The modding and the weapons you can give your leaders. But that's all that is. It's just a person to give weapons to. They've got no real character or story other than they look like that. They haven't got any personality at all. They haven't got any say in the world, any part of the world. They don't have any thought. I mean, in some of those games like Still Lives and Total War, you get generals who want to rebel, or generals who are unhappy, or whatever. But these are just like nameless automatons who go out and do the work of leading an army, but they don't have any character. And that's another thing that would be useful, because again, it would give other things to think about, and it gives the world and the characters, and I'll say the characters in this are very one-dimensional. It would give the characters more flesh. Literally, this one needs more flesh. Look, they've got no stomach. But yeah, it would give them more fleshed out personalities, and then you would have more involvement with them. So I think that's another thing that's not in this game. And finally, another thing which we found out in an early video is you create doomsday weapons, which is all very well and good, but you can't use them against an enemy that's the same tech as you. And in this playthrough, we're assembly, and two of the three enemies are assembly. So we've got a doomsday weapon that we can't use against two of the enemy. I don't know why that would be, because it would be like saying in Rome Total War we've got spears, and so we can't use spears against the Greeks, or in Stellaris we've got battle cruisers, so we can't use battle cruisers against whoever. So it doesn't make any sense why you can't use that. I don't understand. I mean, maybe they're saying that they will be able to defend against it, but then this should be a system where if that's what they're saying, because they've got the same tech they can defend against it, well then there should be a way you can sabotage their defence, or you can build up your doomsday weapon to be more powerful than their defence, something like that. But the fact you just can't do it is a bit useless. And again, that's one more thing that you could have done passively, not passively exactly, but from sitting at home into their sector. But again, that also comes back to that thing I said where you can't fire doomsday weapons, even if you can, into Fog of War. You have to have a completely clear sector. So if that bit there is Fog of War, it's deemed not attackable from a doomsday weapon. So the game is very good on surface, is my overall summary of all the things I've just said. It's very good on surface. It looks nice, it plays nice, it's got lots of systems. But the longer you play it, the longer you realise that not a lot happens. You go through a lot of busy work over many turns, and however you do it, 100 turns is an awful lot, and the most you could probably do is either end the game quickly by fighting one of the all the AI and winning, which I said is difficult because you won't know what armies they've got, and you won't have the tech, and you won't be able to find them that early. Or you can like make up the time by fighting these two NPC factions, which you will only ever get two, and you can do that, but it's always going to end up being the same story in all these kind of playthroughs, where you start busy work, build colonies, build up tech, build up research. You might be able to fight one of the NPC factions, you might not want to. You certainly can't do those early because they're quite strong, and that's literally all you can do because of the things I said earlier. And you realise the more you play it, and the more you play 100 turns in, and I've probably played this now about 10 times 100 turns each, including in my own empires in this playthrough and when I was first playing before I had an empire. And you realise that when you get to this kind of level of the game, this kind of part of the game, the end game, or the beginning of the end game, it's not kind of worth the hassle, because you've gone through a lot and there's not a lot to show for it, because you can just get in this stupid, they've got so many armies, they move up and down, don't know where they're going, you can't see into their zones to see what you can do, you can't really launch any surprise attacks because you know what's going on, plus they've got overwhelming numbers that just move backwards and forwards and not do anything anyway. They won't even finish the game properly, they won't even attack you to kind of end it, they'll just kind of play with you and go backwards and forwards for no reason. And sometimes they won't even attack you, they'll just go back and sit at home like they have done in this little bit. So yeah, that's the problem. It's a really good game, it looks really good. The first few times you play it, it's like, wow, this is really good. And then the more times you do it, the more you realise nothing different really happens in the early 100 turns. You can shorten those, like I said, but even then that's going to be difficult. So, and as I've said many times, the Revelations DLC, which I've done, I haven't really noticed, apart from the anomalous sites, any other parts to what's meant to happen. I'm not blaming the game, it may be what I've done, it may be the way I've played it, it may be I've not hit the right buttons, or the buttons to click on the right things in the game, maybe I've not gone to the right places. But as I've said, a DLC like that, it's not an extended mini-map, and it's not skins. If it's something like that, as it would be with Stellaris, it should integrate into the game where you can see it easily being part of the game, not something you don't notice and you have to find. So that's kind of frustrating that 138 turns in, I honestly can't tell you what the Revelations DLC does, because all I've seen is some anomalous sites, and it should be integrated. As with Stellaris, anytime you integrate a new species or a new thing into that game, you immediately see in a new playthrough how it's affecting all the different parts of the game, and that's how it should be. Anyway, so that's my thoughts on this. I'm not going to, like I said, not going to pursue this pointless war. I could say all wars are pointless, but I'm not going to pursue this pointless war just so I can get wiped out, or maybe wipe them out and continue, because you've already seen how that can go. And you know, even if we did kill all these, we go up there and then they'll have a whole load of armies, and then they'll have another lot over there that beam in from someone, we can't see what's over there, so man. So anyway, those are my thoughts on Age of Wonders Planetfall. As I've said, encompassing all my criticisms and the positives, I will try and play this again at some point on video stream on the channel, just to try and see if I was more aggressive earlier with the NPC factions or with the AI players, whichever is possible. They won't all be possible because you won't have the level of army and the amount of army to do it. Whether it would play out differently, and maybe that will trigger some of the Revelations DLC, because I think I stated in one of the last videos what's meant to be in that and what I've found so far. So yeah, my overall thoughts are it's a game you'll want to play, it's a game that looks good, it's a game that the more you play, the more you'll think, done it before, seen that, done that. And it's a game that you'd want to be trying to end your turn in half the amount of turns I've done. You'd want to be finishing off a planet in 70 turns, not doing this where you think you're building up and then you just end up in this ridiculous stalemate with nothing going on and you can't really do anything and you're going to lose. And in those games like Stellaris, and especially the Total War games, you could end up in a really bad war, but there were still kind of ways to recover. But in this game, if you end up defeated in a big war, when you ended up, which is going to be all your armies basically fighting all that, that's the end of your game, because there's no way you could possibly build up that amount of army quickly. Even if you had 10 colonies, you couldn't build them up that fast, because you'd have 10 separate places building 10 separate units, but they all have to get to one place, and in the meantime they've got another 1,000 different armies hidden there. So it is an all or nothing game. If you use all your units, which you'll need to use, all your armies in one place, and lose, that's kind of it for you straight away, which is again disappointing. So I will try and play this again. As I said, I've said the parameters of how I'll do it. I'm not saying when. It won't be the next thing I do, that's for sure. I think I need a break from this, but it will be soon, I'll remember. But anyway, thanks for watching all these. I think it's been more than 20 videos on Age of Wonders Planetfall, and from Guessagaingaming, next time I'll be back with a different game. Yay. And thanks for watching and take care.